Welcome to my channel, INTJ Island. Today's video is called INTJ Interpretations, the Rogue Part 2. This has been a busy week for me. I'm still pulling things together after having my computer crash. Also, I got news that over in Japan, my older boy, who will be 47 in less than a month, has given me a new granddaughter. I was 20 years old when he was born. When my new granddaughter is going to be 20 years old, my son will be nearly 67, about the same age as I am now. I can't imagine trying to raise a teenager when you are in your 60s, but it looks like my son will find out what that's like. I hope it won't be too long before I get to see little Alicia. She looks like a real bundle of joy. Her older brother Kai, who is coincidentally 20 years old now, is very excited to have a little sister. The reason I am making a follow-up video to the INTJ Rogue is that it seems to have caused some confusion in some of the viewers. It is my job to make the video hang together and make sense, and so I feel responsible when people don't understand what I have said. The video was aimed at explaining the way an INTJ will walk his own path. He will choose his own set of ideas to accept and will decide which ideas to reject. However, when an INTJ is born into a situation where ideas are considered to be unassailable and must remain unquestioned, it is like finding himself in a cage, with the bars being those unassailable ideas. For me, two of those bars were made up of the concept of a 6,000-year-old Earth and a worldwide flood that happened around 4,000 years ago. What I did in the last video was to show evidence of why those two bars fell to pieces in the face of evidence, and I then was able to escape. That video was about my escape, not the bars themselves, at least to my mind. It appears that some of my viewers still accept one or both of those ideas as being valid, and they took the presentation of evidence to show the invalidity of those two ideas as a hit piece on religion in general. This is an INTJ channel, not an atheist channel. My goal in making videos here is to present ideas related to MBTI generally and the INTJ personality type specifically. If you believe in a God, I have no intention of interfering with your belief. I do not intend to make clones of others who think just the same way I do. People who think for themselves will think differently. You don't herd cats, you herd sheep. Cats go their own way. INTJs go their own way. If their way is the same direction of a particular herd of sheep, it will be because the INTJ has thought things out for himself and he is sharing the path of the sheep. He might even be leading the sheep, but he will not be following them. Continuing on with this idea of thinking for yourself, I want to share something I read yesterday. I found this quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. Against that positivism which stops before phenomena, saying there are only facts, I should say no. It is precisely facts that do not exist, only interpretations. You can factor this idea backward to include all things we accept as being reality. And it becomes even worse than what this genius asserted here. For in order to even interpret facts, you require a system of thought, a universe within which your ideas must reside and operate. Even the idea that you have ideas requires you to interpret what ideas are and what meaning they can have. As is always the case, any line of reasoning is resting upon a foundation of axioms. No concept, no reasoning, and no interpretation is a bit better than the axioms upon which it is built. A rational mind, in order to operate at all, must be connected to the universe and some concept about the reality of what is around us in order to function. And while we are faced with the dilemma that Nietzsche has pointed out here, the fact, or at least my interpretation of it, remains. In order to build anything of value in this reality we accept, we also have to accept the concept of facts being useful. In order to create a transistor, you must have three parts created by three separate layers of semiconductor material joined together in a stack. By accepting these things as being facts, semiconductor industries have gone on to create devices with millions of transistors upon one chip of silicon. You would not be watching this video at all if this process had not been successful. Yes, the concepts involved are only interpretations of the phenomena that have been encountered during this process, and all facts of all kinds are in the end a human interpretation of them. So, is this quote mere semantics? By using these interpretations in precisely the same way you would use facts, if they existed, you can produce the exact same results, at least within our limited ability to discern results, as you would obtain should you be able to demonstrate they were actually facts in the first place. Friedrich Nietzsche was an amazing INTJ. I enjoy reading what he wrote. Even when I run into something like this that is true, but perhaps not as useful as it might be. Esoteric, yes. Interesting, yes. Thought-provoking, absolutely. But it is like taking the wheels off your car. If you assume that facts do not exist, you can't go anywhere. More correct, perhaps, might have been to say that while facts exist, we personally can only use interpretations of those facts. That is both true and useful, because science is perpetually refining our interpretation of our facts so that we can approximate what is really there more correctly. We judge the quality of our interpretations of facts by the results we obtain through using our interpretations in the real world as we define it. If our facts are consistently producing results, or our interpretation of the results, which are testable, repeatable, and of value to us in whatever we are trying to accomplish, we can move forward with our wheels once again installed onto our car. The very idea of a car itself has a story of its own, as men took the wheel and found more and more sophisticated methods of moving that wheel while supporting loads of various size and weight and moving at ever-increasing speeds. The car has grown in sophistication year after year, creating the things added to this device, from glass portals to look through, while artificially heating and cooling the interior, adding entertainment components, and even GPS, all the way to autopilot control, which is still in the developmental stage. All rely on our interpretation of facts. The INTJ mind is connected up closely with facts. Our introverted intuition requires us to provide things it can use, and the way it uses these things must be as if they were facts. Our extroverted thinking is also driven to manipulate facts. If you perform an addition as simple as 1 plus 1 and you come up with 2, you must assume that your interpretation of the concept of 1 and that of the arithmetic function of addition, as well as your conception of the number 2, are all the same as someone on the other side of the world who performs this same calculation. While everything you treat as a fact is indeed an interpretation of a fact, it only proves that in one way, and perhaps in all ways, we live in an abstraction inside of our own minds. Our minds must interpret what is around us. We have senses that bring in information not directly but through a process of biological functions where the outside world presses in upon our senses and our brain interprets what the output of the senses send to it. The process of seeing is far more complex than most people realize. There is feedback from the brain to the eye, as well as signals that run from the eye to the brain. It is necessary for us to have previously seen something or something similar to what we are currently looking at in order for our minds to immediately and correctly understand what we are currently looking at. It is a dynamic process where what we know things look like is overlaid upon what we are seeing right now. When you see something that is completely new and different, your mind has to develop a concept to go along with that new item. Next time you see that item, you will recognize it right away. Optical illusions fool the system into seeing things in one way and perhaps flipping your perception around where you see it in a completely different way. Clarity of vision is also affected. What you recognize, you will see far more clearly than what you don't recognize. You have to actually process things that you don't recognize when they come into your field of vision. The transformation is quite profound when you suddenly see something that was there all along. Recognition itself adds detail to the image. This detail is supplied by the brain, not the eye. So what do we do with our abstract existence? Mostly we pretend it is not abstract and live out our lives as if our brain's interpretation of the facts around it from sight, sound, smell, taste, and feeling, to mathematical, logical, and physical rules and laws, are all truly facts, and just as they appear within our own brain's abstract map of the universe and all events within it. In the end, despite the correct idea of Friedrich Nietzsche that we have no facts, but only interpretations, as an INTJ, I embrace reason and logic, and I place them above any authority or assertion from others. I did not choose this situation in which I apparently exist, or the set of circumstances that are apparently around me. An interesting aside to this, I rigidly stand by my allegiance to reason and truth, but this allows me to be flexible as well. I can see the other side of things, because I don't make up my mind until I have thought it over and have created what I accept as a valid interpretation of it. Perhaps something is valid, or perhaps it is not, but until I know for sure, I keep the door open to either possibility. I was handed this existence as it is, as were all of you, and I have to make the best of it. I fortunately have a brain, and it can think, so that is what I use to make my way in this world. The set of apparent facts before me, which I must interpret, are myriad, far beyond my capacity to interpret them all. However, I am hard at work, and have been my entire life, trying to sort through them as quickly and as accurately as I can. After my last video, a commenter asked me, shouldn't an INTJ question the validity of MBTI? Of course we should question MBTI. A rational mind must question everything. There are things in the MBTI that are confusing and can lead to contradictory results. Simply finding out what your type is for sure can be a long and exhausting process. At the same time, MBTI produces many positive results that are consistent. So it is an imperfect system, but it is still a useful system. Like a scientific hypothesis, you test and adjust your model to fit the facts, or your interpretation of the facts, if you will, and test again. The world is a complex and multifaceted place. There are too many things for one man to fully understand. In fact, even if you limit yourself to a small subset of the world's facts, there are still too many things that are before you for you to fully grasp. If this is true of such a small space, then what of the universe? Our galaxy is spread out over 100,000 light years, and that incomprehensibly large collection of star systems, dust and gas, is like a drop in the ocean of all the billions and billions of other galaxies out there, maybe as many as 1 trillion of them, perhaps even more. Every time they test an area where it looks like it is just black with no stars, they find that it is loaded up with more galaxies that are just too far away to see without highly sensitive equipment. So, we start off with a situation where we are set into a universe that is way too big to get our minds around. Unless we find a way to move faster than light, no matter how intelligent our descendants will become, whether they are biological or non-biological, they will never reach but a tiny fraction of the volume of this universe. That idea gives me pause, knowing that most of what I can see out there beyond the Milky Way is forever to remain unknown to any intelligence that might come from this planet, no matter how advanced it might become, is truly sad. However, what if our interpretation of the limitations that we have is wrong? What if there is a sort of back door to this universe, or a way to move through other dimensions that is effectively the same as moving faster than light? That is the sort of thing superintelligence might solve one day. Maybe even moving through time will be possible through some other process. Suddenly, all bets would be off. There would then be no part of this universe, past, present, or future, that would be beyond reach. Then the question of intelligence would be critical. For how could you understand all the things you would be experiencing if you were not super intelligent and you also possessed a massive amount of memory? And we are back to Friedrich Nietzsche and his view of man's future as we move forward and improve who we are at a basic level. A few million years ago, there was nothing on earth that resembled a man. A few million years from now, the man of today will be obsolete and something else will be here, either beside or instead of us. Do we advance into the future and move out into the stars? Or do we fall back into extinction and let some other form of life take over the planet as we did when the dinosaurs died out? I am fascinated by the future and the possible paths it might take. How do you feel about facts and interpretations? How far do you go in accepting facts as being facts, and how much doubt do you apply to all the things you see around you? Is 1 + 1 always 2? And why? Do you question reality as you perceive it? Or are you a pragmatic realist, rigid and sure of your position? Please share your ideas in the comments. I enjoy reading comments from those who think. It is a gift INTJs are very good at giving. If you enjoyed the video, please click like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you click on the bell, you will also receive notifications when I put up a new video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.